going on, YouTube? Man, I just finished my workout. Just trying to recover. It's in the 90s. Dog, we're just trying to get right day by day. Speaking of day by day, I have to now get some more groceries, get some more items from the store. That means I gotta spend more money. I hate spending every dollar that I make. Here's why. If this is your first time seeing Black, please hit the subscribe button. Please leave a like if you hear something that makes sense to you. Or if I'm not making sense, hit a like anyway. Leave a comment for the same reasons. I really want to hear people's perspective on this because the more I get older, guys, the more I just don't like having money. Making money, spending money, having money, I feel like it puts me in a box. Money is a construct that I simply just don't agree with. Let's get into the video, guys, and listen to some of my reasons why I hate spending money. It was once said that all men were created equal. All men would have access to basic living conditions. Food to eat, clothes on our back, a bed to sleep in, a job to make fair wages. We vote to be represented by the government. We vote to be heard. But doesn't matter. Who is upholding the true values that are the core of America? Who can really help? Because while the rich get richer, while the influence gains more power and reign, who's looking out for us, the people? Who has our back when we become less than? This is America. So the dollar is an interesting tool. You know, it's an interesting resource. It's an interesting instrument, you know, that funds the life of people. You know, the less you have as far as money, the less you have as far as life, right? At least that's what the system wants us to think. And it tends to be true, right? Usually if you're even if you're like really good with your finances, you know what I'm saying? Like, usually someone who makes $500 a month is usually, again, the average person is usually, at least on paper, I'm throwing out these keywords, right? At least on paper, in a lesser situation than someone who makes $1,000 a month, usually. But it doesn't stop there, right? Just because you make more money than the next person doesn't necessarily mean you have or you're worth more money than that other person. It doesn't. So that's one. I just want to get that off my chest, get that out of the way, because there's people in 2026 who still believe just because I make more than you, I have more money, or I'm worth more than you. And that's a dumb, ignorant way of thinking. People still believe that. So just get that out of your head. That's not true. That's not true. I know there's people who are living paycheck to paycheck, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I know there's people who are making millions of dollars a year, and they still feel like they need to work, or they still feel like they need to make more money. And I know there's people who are making under $100,000 a year with a family. You know what I'm saying? And they were able to get a net worth of $1 million. Because we're not talking about all these other variables. We're just talking about making more or less money. But all these other variables come into play. They do. Anyway, that's not really the meats and bones of what I'm trying to discuss here. I just want to talk about the abstract concept of making money and spending money. And really, what does that mean in today's, I guess, society? What does that mean for Americans, right? You know, because there's a lot of opportunities for people to make a lot of money, right? Whether it's one job or three. The fact that people can finagle one or two other jobs, right? Making money seems like it's easier in the idea that if I just at least work more, I'll make more money. You get what I'm saying? You know, you got different tools now. You know, people just use their cars to make money. People sell stuff online and still hold a full-time job or full-time jobs. you know? So like making more money in the sense to where if I make $200 and then I find something to do to make an extra $50, I'm making more money. I'm not talking about making a certain amount of more money. You get what I'm saying? Like I wanna make this clear to my point. So it's not necessarily hard to just make extra money. Get you from X to Y, Y to Z, you know what I'm saying? But we have to understand why do we need to make extra money? Why do we feel like we have to make an extra $100 a week, right? Because that's what most of us look for in a salary raise. You know what I'm saying? Like, why must we as Americans keep having the need to grind out and not just maintain a check, which is hard to do nowadays anyway, but just keep making more and more money? It seems like it's by design, because almost 85% of Americans are blowing through their monthly budget. You know what I'm saying? So why is that the case? The current American citizens who are working feel like they have to impulse spend, feel like they have to doom spend. And doom spend is a word that I kind of like. You know, it's a term that, you know, it relates to the spending or the unnecessary spending to maintain stress or to combat stress, right? We doom spend because we know that we're in a situation where it's kind of redundant, it's rhetorical, right? I.e. the rat race. You know, we're paycheck to paycheck. We know that our income isn't changing. We know that our bills aren't lessening. God forbid, you know, it's, you know, some people are experiencing their bills increasing, purposely or not. So people, you know, combat the feelings of life, the emotions of life, the stresses of life with spending more, which is almost counterproductive, like almost at 100% counterproductive. I'll give some leeway, you know. It's counterproductive because you're working and spending more than what you're really making. Doom spending is not just attributed to cash, right? Or your income necessarily, right? People take out loans. You know, the whole PPP loan thing that was happening a couple years ago, right? People, you know, was waiting on stimulus checks during COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people do a lot of things for money, and to make quick money. Even though, like, and really think about this, even though the essence or the idea of getting just a little bit more money will never change the situation. Doom spending. You get what I'm saying? So look that up. I think it's pretty cool, as far as the term, not the actual, the realism behind the spending. Like, we shouldn't be doing that, but you know, we got to cope with life. We got to cope with life. Now we should be coping in a different way, and we'll get into that close to the end of this video. But it's really impactful to the human psyche. You know what I'm saying? I talk to a lot of people, you know, and people feel like they will never quit their job in the means of retirement. People feel like they need more than one job. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and it's sad, but that's the capitalistic agenda of the United States of America. And it's like, there's people who know that they're in it with or without a game plan to escape it. And there's people who don't know that they're in it. And so I really want to talk to the people who don't know that they're in it. I can't talk to people who are ignorant or people who's not going to lack, you know, any sort of knowledge or self-awareness around this subject. You can't talk to people who don't want to be helped. You know what I'm saying? So I want to talk to those people who are like, man, why am I feeling this way? And or how can I get out of it? Well, you're feeling this way because it's a system. It's a design. I say these words a lot, and I'm going to forever say this for as long as I have breath. It's made for you guys to feel this way. The more and more money you make, listen to me, like it's twofold, guys. System, design, rat race, hamster wheel, proverbial carrot. I'm just keep saying these same terms. It's either the more money you make There's systematic pressures, there's desensitized ideas to have you thinking you need an extra truck, you need an extra car, you need an extra house, you need to take an extra vacation, you need to buy a boat. You need to get into a business where the risk is extremely high. You get what I'm saying? That's what happens when you make more money. When you lose money or you feel like you can't increase your income, it's still the mental. It's the same way. It's the same formulas providing a different, I guess, outcome, right? Okay, I'm not making more money to necessarily spend more money, but I'm busting my ass thinking I need to make more money because I am spending more money. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example. So if I'm only making 30 or 40K, single, or, it doesn't really matter, dependencies. But if I'm a guy making 30, 40K, well, what happens? The system is by design. Like, you can live comfortable. You can try to control your situation, but you still got inflation. You still got things you can't control, right? You still got property taxes. You know what I'm saying? Things happen to you medically, and you got insurance issues. You got medical issues. So you could be good at that income level if you can control every variable in your life, but you can't, especially in that type of system. So what do? You start trying to put yourself in a situation to where you're not going to allow the environment, your education, your skill set, your persona to keep you down as far as finances. So you're going to get a second or third job. The job you're on currently won't give you more money. So you're going to find yourself getting a second or third job. So it works twofold. Sweaty cup. So you're either going to have the stress of attempting to make more money, or if you're making good, above average, or a lot of money, you're going to have the temptations and the desensitized pressures to spend more money. And both are the same for me. Both are the exact same, guys. It keeps us stuck. The concept of money keeps us stuck. And it's not just money. It's how money is playing that X factor in the system of the capitalistic states of America. I'm not even going to keep saying the United States. It's, again, eyes wide shut, in plain sight, how we united. The states of America, the capitalistic states of America. I'm not going to say United States. It's going to be the capitalistic states of America. I'm replacing capitalistic from United. That's just what it is, So people are experiencing this every day. I know people, right, who has hundreds of thousands of dollars, and not just within investments, not just within like digital investments, not just within physical investments, like people having in ITTs and stocks and obviously in their homes, but people have money liquid. And if they change their mindset and their physical situation, then they can actually live rich, not be rich, because rich, there's a connotation with the capitalistic states of America that rich is a certain income bracket and or net worth that one has to have to be in that class. No, we don't got to be physically rich with funds. We got to be physically put in the right position, but mentally rich with knowledge, right? So how do I do this, Sean, right? What are you talking about? Because it feels like I'm all over the place. Got my buddy walking with me. My dog, he stopped walking. Like, so what are you talking, you're all over the place. All right, so how do I get out of this situation? Because it feels like you can't, right? I looked up a stat that says 45% of people who are in this simulation, who are in this situation with doom spending, overspending, feeling like they got the quiet, quick, and bowing out, right? Who is in this situation, they cry over their finances. They cry over their financial health, their financial well-being, Like imagine, guys, imagine what happened in the Great Depression back in the 1920s. People were committing suicide. You know what I'm saying? Somebody cop. People were jumping out of their office buildings. White collar workers jumping out of the buildings, killing themselves. This is what financial ruin does to people. I see people today, and a different term, who are spiritually dying, obviously financially ill, and mentally desperate. So all over LinkedIn, right? People are filing for bankruptcy. People with a lot of education, a lot of degrees, a lot of certificates, a lot of experience, a lot of connections, and they can't make it work. I'm like, how is that? How do you keep digging a hole, right? Because someone told you that there's oil or there's water or there's resources at the end of this hole. Once you get to 10 feet, you'll find something. Once you get to 20 feet, you'll find something. Dig your ass to 100 feet, you're gonna get that pot of gold and you're good. But when you get to 100 feet, you're like, where is this at? You're hitting metal. You know what I'm saying? That's what's happening in life, especially in the capitalistic states of America. And why? Because it's a system, it's by design. It doesn't matter how much you plow and till the garden. It doesn't. Because there's obstacles. System, just like a video game. There's plugins, there's levels, right? You know, that you have to maneuver through. And people can't mentally do it because it's not a physical game, it's mental game, it's mental warfare. Everything is mental. Money is physical, but everything's mental. And that's the problem. Like, how do you combat if you're dealing with a physical situation, but I'm telling y'all it's mental, how do you combat it? 99.9% of people can't. Because once you get more money, you feel obligated to spend it. There is people who are not even into materialistic things. And once they get money, they feel obligated to just give it away. So they're not even using their money in the best way. You know what I'm saying? There's people who give money to a church, guys, every Sunday. Whether it's their last or it's just enough to put them or keep them in a negative situation financially to a church. I know people like this. I've been around people like this. It doesn't matter the industry, the sect, the entity. Money makes the world go round because it's mental warfare. The system is mental. It just manifests into a physical state because we're physical beings. So we gotta play that mental game. Oh, how do I combat this? I'll give it to y'all straight. Your cost of living. People are not gonna wanna hear this, but 99.9% of people, especially who are in the disappearing lower to middle class, so, right, that's a lot of people, right, are living way above their means, way too above their means, and I'll tell you why. Housing costs shouldn't be 50 to 60% of your gross income. That means it's 65 to 70% of your net. That's too much. You're dead. You're done already. You're toast. Cooked, as people say, right? People are spending way too much for housing. Well, it's expensive. How do I do this? You guys got to find different ideas. You guys got to co-host or co-own. You got to rent with buddies, or you got to move out of the States. Your cost of living. Look, y'all guys got to look at. Y'all guys got understand verbiage. Understand the writing on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, just look at everything that's been told to us. If someone said you should save 10% of your income, then that really means you should be saving 20 to 25% of your income. Now, that's hard to do, but understand the abstractness of like what words mean. What, like, really? And I'll give you another example. A mortgage company is looking for you to be able to maintain a ratio from a debt to income perspective of, I believe, under 55%. Some, I think, really want under 49%. What does that mean? Credit cards, student loans, residual debt, like what you pay for your car notes and stuff like that, right? Assumed cost of living, what do you spend day to day? Phone, internet, food, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does your bills look like, whether you have to pay for it or not, because they disperse it in a month-to-month ratio. assumed with their gross income, which I don't like gross income, but that's what they do. You know, where's that 20%? That 20% is taxes, but we calculate that. So we're already screwed up because of the verbiage that they present to us. You guys get what I'm saying? So we're too high. Our mortgage and or overhead shouldn't be more than 25 to 28% of our income, but it is. So what does that look like for me? What am I telling you guys? If you guys can get your household overhead, under 20%, we're starting somewhere. There's a lot of change that's gonna happen. We can't get caught up in the Joneses and the ideologies that we make more money. It gotta look like we have more money. Stop it. Our overhead is too much, first and foremost. And I'm not gonna go into other bills. Overhead. People's overhead, they're spending 2 to 3 times way too much. Figure that shit out. Cut costs. Kids are gonna have to share rooms. Like, you guys gotta understand, what am I working towards? What am I working for? Am I working to keep a look up? Knowing that family and friends is all depleting and they don't really like me for who I am. Like, think about all this, right? Because I'm the one who has to go to work. I'm the one who has to pay bills. Think about this stuff, right? And we'll get into that right before the end of this video. Overhead is too much. These 4 things I'm mentioning has nothing to do with making more money. Watch. So I mentioned just decreasing your cost of living, right? And I talked about different ways. And you're not gonna like most ways, but that's how life is. Find a way to if you don't like these tips, then you have to make more money, but it's gonna keep you stuck. Because what happens, you get into a situation where you make more money, right? You're then funding your own lifestyle in any type of way you feel is necessary. But I've seen a lot of people, most people who make more money, spend more money in ways that they shouldn't. So don't keep yourself trapped. It's gonna keep you stuck having to work at a certain job, make minimum hours, and you have to make a minimum amount of income forever to sustain a certain amount of living, even if you think it's culpable. So I'm not gonna give you guys ideas or steps or ways to get out of this monotonous cycle by saying make more money. Let's keep it simple. Decrease what you have. Decrease your cost of living. Stop paying too much for overhead. Stop paying too much for rent. Like, understand your situation. You're gonna have to do a lot of life-changing things to change that shit. So I just want to make that clear. This means this can be happening for everybody. Most people who are willing to change. Because I'm not telling y'all to go out and create more income. That's harder to do in today's time. So I'm gonna keep this real and raw. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. The second thing is be able to save 10 to 15% of your net income. Let's just use an example of you making $5,000 a month. Let's just say $4,000 after taxes. If you could somehow put away $400, guys, $400, and you know what? I'll take a step back. Let's just say 5%. Put away $200 into a high yield savings account. Right? If you're 30 and you plan to retire at the government retirement age of 62, and you put away $200 a month to a high yield savings account, HYSA, you know what I'm saying? Look at the math, guys. Compound interest, right? Even at 2 or 3%. We'll make this a small example. $200 a month. 200 times 12 is $2,400 a year. $2,400 a year at a compounded interest rate of just 1%. That's you just putting up $200 a month. You don't got to increase any income. You don't got to increase your contributions. $200 a month, $50 a week. This is easy between 2 people who are working full time. Get my message. Right? That's $65,000 in contributions to one high yield savings account. So off of the percentage, right? And you guys can pull out a calculator on this example, right? You're looking at anywhere from $80,000 to about $120,000 over the next 30 to 35 years. You've contributed around 60K and you've made anywhere from 80 to 120, maybe 110K. You get what I'm saying? In a high yield savings account. So lower your overhead, lower your expenses, and put what you lowered basically in an account. That's it. That's it. But the game, College ain't gonna teach you this. Your friends ain't gonna teach you this. Your parents ain't gonna teach you this. The president ain't gonna teach us this. The professors ain't gonna teach us this. Your pastor and the scholar of the Bible isn't gonna teach all this. You know what I'm saying? How are we a Christian state and a state ran off of capitalism, a state with so many resources, but we're so financially dead? But we're mentally shocked when we can't afford life. Everybody can't afford life at certain levels. We're 15, we can't make any money because we're too young. We're 25, we have a degree, but we can't make too money. You know, too much money. We're 40 with 20 years of experience, 15 years of experience, and we can't make too much money, or we can't keep money, you know, for whatever reason. We're 60, 65, we can't retire. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just every level's feeling the same way. Change it. Change it. The system is powerful, but I mean, we could change it. We're just looking at the formulas like, okay, bet. It's too complex for us to even understand it. But no one never said we cannot make our own formula. You know what I'm saying? We can make our own formula in this shit. Make it make sense. You know? Number 3 is you should limit dependencies or liabilities. This basically goes into conjunction with reducing your overhead, right? But I said in conjunction. Overhead is a necessity to live in, right? We need shelter, basic needs of living. We need shelter, we need water, you know what I'm saying, running water. We need electrical power, some sort of source, gas, you know what I'm saying, to a certain degree, you know. Cost of living. We're in a digital world, you know, people work, we need internet for communications, right? Cost of living, overhead, right? That's what I'm talking about, overhead, you know? But dependencies and liabilities, right? That could be jewelry. That could be extra means of transportation, cars, bikes, boats, ships, right? You know? That could be certain relationships. Now we're gonna change the game. That could be certain relationships, that could be certain friends. Some people may not be meant to have kids. They're not there yet. You see, y'all gotta understand why we were pushed to have kids, which is a whole different video. Why are we pushed to really do anything? Yeah. When you guys understand that the more people in the system there is, for whatever reason, the better or the stronger or the more proficient, the more protected the system is, there's gonna be too much desensitization. Because people spread negativity by default. You need more people to uphold the system. You need more people to work. You need more people to ride against knowledge. You know? You need more people to be sick. It starts with our kids. I was a kid, your mom was a kid at one point, your granddad was a kid at one point. And what happens? When you're a child, you learn, you move, you think, you breathe from what you're taught, from what you're told, from what you are hearing on a regular basis. I mean, this is how white supremacy started, guys. You have kids, and that's the legacy. You spread hate. We gotta have kids to spread misinformation. You get what I'm saying? Like, really, honestly think about this stuff, guys. So people who are trying to play a different game and are trying to combat life, the emotions and the stresses of life, who are trying to rewrite or create their own formula, you know what I'm saying? We can't do the same stuff. We can't do ordinary things. The normalcy of life has to change into an anomaly. We got to become anomalies in the system. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. I'm not trying to take away human nature, the consequences of our biology, but we're not playing those games anymore, right? We're in a systematic, economic, digital world, guys. The biology aspect is gone. We're all struggling. Because if we were just in a biological world, if we were just feeding off the natures of the world, and you know what I'm saying? We would have none of this stuff. So get what I'm saying. You got to limit that stuff. This stuff keeps us stuck. Not necessarily keeps us working, but it keeps us having the mental need to feel like we need to keep making more money. I gotta give the best to my kids. Yet I'm in an environment and in a system to where it ain't all up to me anyway, no matter how much money I put into my kids. Come on, think about this stuff. I know I may offend people talking about that. And it's like, well, Deshaun, you got kids, so what are you saying? Well, because I was in the system. I still am in the system. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still to this day trying to figure out, not even trying to figure out, trying to rewrite the formula. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be different things I do from now on. Because yes, I did have kids. And I stand on it. You know what I'm saying? Of course. You know? But this is game telling game. Because I didn't have people in my corner understanding life like that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's up, man? Swaddy ka. Ka. I didn't have people in my life really giving me real life game. Not no street bullshit, real life stuff. Higher level thinking. Ain't nobody in my corner doing that. I look in the mirror and say, how are we gonna defeat the day? That's just me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to give y'all real life truth stuff that people will never talk about ever. And the last thing is, number 4 is you tell people no. Because y'all gonna be looking at 1, 2, and 3, right? Limiting dependencies, liabilities, lowering, reducing your overhead / cost of living, trying to save 5 to 10% of your income, your net income, and make the money without spending or without like making more money without having to work for more money with that compound interest. So a lot of people can be doing all 3, but it's like, after 5 or 10 years, I still see them doing the same thing as far as spending, right? As far as not getting to where they want. When I want to work less, I want to be able to retire, I want to be able to travel more. But if you're not doing all 4, none of that's happening. Because the mental game, see, you could be self-disciplined in certain ways. You can control your situation where, okay, if you know that, you know, you're a lover, not a fighter, you're going to give a woman kids, vice versa. This is for women too, right? Then you know you can't be in a relationship, or you know that you got to abstain from certain things, right? I mean, we got to get deep about it. You know you can control your situation with your overhead. We got options, right? You know what I'm saying? Like saying no is almost God's spirit, guys. It almost is. Saying no for the right stuff. I'm not saying being freaky and being like scary and, you know, living life fearful and anxiety filled. I'm not you know, we got to really go through life and learn how to balance that out. But saying no is powerful to a lot of stuff. I'll say most things, bro and girls, sorry. Saying no is powerful. And I find myself saying no a lot nowadays. Because I promise you guys, like this video, if you agree that ain't nobody else finna pay your bills. Ain't nobody else finna retire you. Ain't nobody else finna care for you when you get sick. Just think about this stuff. Like, honestly. I really can't stress this enough. So I hope people who do end up watching this are really understanding what I'm saying. Saying no. I have not mentioned in these 4 things to do to combat. I can't even say this is a guarantee, dog. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a system. To combat and to start from somewhere, I have not mentioned in these 4 steps to say, go and get another job. Find a way to make more income. Get it online. I'm not saying none of that stuff. If you make $5,000 and you know you can't make more or don't want to make more, you don't have to. But you got to change your mind frame. Saying no, you stand on it. You're going to have less friends. You're going to be not talking to your family members more. When people see you doing good, you become their crutch, right? They become a leech. They are indirectly affecting the positive trajectory and your financial well-being, which is, you know, we're in a financial type of world, right? We could just say your well-being. Finances stresses people the hell out. People become alcoholics because they think they're not making enough or they think they're getting scammed. You know what I'm saying, guys? People are abusing drugs. People are getting sick. People are dying. They are dying. I'm talking about physically. People are getting shot and because they're getting robbed and just over money. Money. Money creates division, separation, classism, prejudice, discrimination. Money is just, it's a construct, bro. But I still will say this, money isn't the root of all evil. The idea of money is the root of all. Money is a blessing. Like, Deshaun, what are you talking about? Now, you gotta have money. We're not living off the land anymore. We're in an industrial age. Like, in an economic age, we gotta have money. You ain't gotta have a lot of it, and you don't gotta spend all of it. That's the thing. The idea, the ideology, and the reality. I'm always separating the two. Blue pill, red pill. Ideology, reality. You know what I'm saying? So I hope I made sense. This is kind of long-winded, I guess. But I've been running into people for years saying I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting nowhere. These are people, I don't ask people. These are people on my job just chatting me on my job. These are people on my job. These are residents I go drop deliveries off to. You know, these are clients that I've worked with. Like, it's everywhere. And it don't matter what they don't have or what they have. I'm always hearing this cynical, facetious type of banter. Yeah, I can't wait to take vacation. Yeah, I wish I had this and I wouldn't be at work today. Bullshit. Because people be thinking too, again, the idea, right? There's a lot of people who win the lottery. There's a lot of people who make a lot of money. We talked about this. We always talk about this, right? There's stats about this. They don't know a thing to do with it. They don't know how to manipulate it. And it doesn't stop with money. It starts with people who don't have money too. You know what I'm saying? It starts with people who don't have money, who's around you. Say no. No is powerful, dog. Dog and dogettes. Sorry. I keep saying dog. I don't want to offend anybody. It's powerful, man. If I said something cool or not, sub, like, comment. I'm all about trajectory. Stuff has to change. I just feel like every 5 to 10 years, I got to be in a different spot. Let me know if you guys in the comments feel that way too. If you want to be in a different spot, man. If you want to be. I love to be around people who are hungry. Strategically. It's the long game. We got to play the system differently. Especially when you were born with certain deficiencies and you're born with the cards fully against you, man. We got to play a different game. We got to. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. And let me know if any of that stuff works, man. It's just a start. I can't even guarantee it. That's the system we're in.